everybody. Today I get the pleasure of speaking with my new friend, Susan Evans, who grew up as a missionary kid on the field of Guatemala. Everybody, this is Susan. Susan, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers.
So I'm Susan Evans, and I grew up in Guatemala as a missionary kid, and I'm currently living in Washington State with my husband and 4 kids, and I've homeschooled them all the way because I was a teacher before I had kids. So I have a website, susanevans.org, and it's about hands-on learning, but also hands-on faith. And I wrote a book about growing up as a missionary kid, since that's part of who I am now, kind of a bicultural person. So
that's awesome. I've read a lot of your blog, and you have some awesome stuff on there. I love reading through it. So anybody who is trying to learn more about any of what she just mentioned, definitely check it out. So I guess let's go ahead and get started with some questions. First of all, let's go ahead and learn a little bit about your family's ministry. So if you can just let us know what your family did in Guatemala.
Okay, so my dad was a professor at the seminary down in Guatemala City. So he trained pastors from all over the world, and he taught Greek and New Testament theology in Spanish. And he didn't actually learn Spanish until his 30s. Costa Rica was the country where we lived for language school, and I was 3 at the time. And so then we moved to Guatemala when I was 4. And then I moved back to the States when I was 18. So my whole childhood was in Guatemala.
So you were a missionary kid pretty much as long as you can remember. What were some of your best memories as a missionary kid?
My favorite memories with my own family. We would play cards. There was no TV or anything. And so we would have deep conversations. My dad would say, ask me anything about scripture, anything. And I would try to stump him. Like, I would ask questions that were just, most people don't ask. And then these obscure passages, he would explain them to me. And for the rest of my life, all the Bible studies I've been a part of all over the world, because I lived in England after that and other things too, all the churches I've been a part of have always valued the knowledge that I've gained. And it's because I grew up in a Christian environment, was trained, not only in schools and stuff like that and in church, but at home too. And my mom nurtured my creativity, and my dad, his love for scripture was so big, it made me love scripture. And so as a kid, I would read my Bible all the time just for fun.
On the flip side of that, what do you feel like were some of the struggles that you faced as a missionary kid?
Saying goodbye to close friends is the number one thing, especially for me. I had a really close friend that I grew up with, and she left when I was 13, and that's a time when it's pivotal because you have hormones and all that, and when the person that you have shared life with, as far as playing together and doing things together, and that they know you and stuff like that, to not have that person there, it's almost like a death. And so the grief isn't processed. Like, nobody helps you go through the grief, because I guess people don't understand that it's not just death that causes grief. But I didn't know necessarily that I would ever see my best friend again. And there was this other friend that I had that was really close to, that was in my neighborhood, and she got a threatening note from some guerrillas. And by guerrillas, I mean not the animal. I mean soldier, self-appointed soldiers, shall we say, with machine guns. and they threatened them that they would be killed if they did not go back to the United States. So they took the threat seriously and left, and I never saw her again. I saw her on Facebook years and years later, but I mean, I had not seen her for, I mean, decades. And so this is the thing is, it's like you have to start over with people over and over to make friendships, and that is really hard. And the other thing is that, and especially if you look differently. I mean, you're going to Scotland, so you're white. Most people, you would blend in. Not your accent, but still, in Central America, everybody was brown skin with black hair, so I stuck out like a sore thumb. And so it was hard because I knew that I didn't belong, that I wasn't exactly like them. And then when I came back to the States, I looked like them, but I was completely different than them.
Yeah, and I've thought about that too, because my husband is Hispanic, and so our children are mixed. And so I will kind of fit in a little bit easier than they will. They're going to kind of just stick out a little bit more in Scotland than they would if, God had called us to a Latin American country.
Wow.
But we, even now, just on deputation, we run into a lot of goodbyes, and I can see that our children are struggling with that even now. As we go through churches and they make new friends and then have to leave them, and they're already catching on, like, are we ever going to see them again? And so I can see how that's a very prevalent struggle for missionary children. What are some ways that you feel like your parents helped you through the struggles that you had?
Okay, so with my best friend, they not only paid for a phone call, which cost over $100, which made such a huge difference because I hadn't heard her voice in like a couple years or something. So that was huge. That helped to heal my broken heart. But then, and I forgot about this until I was talking to my mom about it just the other day. But she flew me over to Texas, where my friend was, for a month in the summer, and we ended up going to Washington D.C. and all these other things. And so I was able to live with her family for a month, and so it was like free room and board. Just my parents paid for the round trip plane ticket, and then they took care of me. And she had missed me too, because the people here in the United States were completely different. She had just started high school when we were separated, and so I think it was a lot harder for her, because I at least had some friends there that they weren't as close as her. But and then when the two close friends that I made that first year also left, and my older sister left to go to college, that next year, it was just really, that's when it was really hard for me. So anyway, so our parents got in cahoots with each other, and that was so beautiful. And one of the questions that you're going to ask here is, what can Christians in the United States do to encourage MKs? And one of the things, I mean, if you have spare money lying around, would be to have them connect and get together. Either, well, I mean, nowadays you have Facebook and stuff like that. Maybe it's not so hard now. I mean, that's nice. That wasn't the case for me. And even a phone call was everything. And on a missionary salary, you can't just have a $100 phone call. I mean, so anyway.
No, that's awesome.
So sorry. And I was brainstorming, okay, because you're raising a whole bunch of memories that I forgot about. My mom also changed the decor in my bedroom when I was really sad and depressed, and she said I could have anything I wanted as a bedspread and curtains. And And so we went to the store and looked at different bedspreads and curtains. I don't know why I'm crying.
Oh,
And this beautiful yellow curtain, it suffused light into my room, so everything was cheerful, and it just completely changed the whole atmosphere in the room. And anyway, so then whenever I came home from school and went to my room, there was this beautiful yellow bedspread, and I mean, you would think that it's too much, but it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed, and my mom just did that for me. And I mean, who says that? Oh, I'll get whatever,
yeah.
cover for your bed you want, and I'll match the curtains, and we'll just rearrange your room. And so it felt like a fresh start. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That you had a mom that really could see that you were struggling and did what she could do to help you through it. Just having something in your room like that, especially something so cheerful as like the color yellow, just having that place in your house that you can go and feel good and happy and something that you wanted, something that you got to choose in your life.
right.
And then especially with your parents, especially on a missionary's budget, $100, that's a big deal for you to be able to have that phone call. And
Right.
I imagine that was a big moment for you. And then getting to spend
Was.
that time, yeah, getting to spend that time with your friend as well. That's a big deal too. So that's awesome,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you got to experience that. Um, so you said that you were a missionary kid for the majority of your youth. What was that transition like, going from missionary kid in Guatemala to a college student in the States?
Okay, so the way that my parents decided to do it with me was that they came up to the United States for my first year of college, and so I lived with them and attended my first year of college. And then we prayed, and they found a family that was a Christian family that I rented a room from. So then I felt like I was in a homey situation. So that's a good thing. Now, my older sister was sent to college, and she went to a Christian college, Biola. And so, but she was only 16 at the time because she had skipped a grade in school. And so, it was more of a jolt for her. Although, see, in a Christian college, it's similar to the environment of missionary kids, where everybody that you knew is basically Christian, and so it's this Christian environment. And so when I went to um, a state school that was not a Christian school, everyone was so different than me. And then I also noticed in the church, people were talking about manicures and famous people that were actors, and it's like they didn't want to talk about things that mattered. And so I felt a disconnect with the whole culture in the United States. It felt very superficial to me. Now I found, people here and there, and those are the ones that I liked to be with, that had more of the substance of, what they, their walk with the Lord, anything that had any meaning, rather than just talk about superficial things, the weather or whatever. It seemed like that's all they were talking about, and it was kind of irritating. And I felt there's a problem actually with missionary kids having a sense of superiority, which is bad, because pride issues can come in. But it's if you were raised in whatever environment you're raised in, that's that's your environment. And so it's not the fault of people that are monocultural, that they can't see outside of that. And so it's that's one of the downfalls or potential pitfalls of missionary kids. But then also there's a lot that keeps us humble, in that we don't fit in, so it feels like shifting sand and like we're stupid and stuff. So it's both. It's just kind of, yeah, like crossing the street, the crosswalk, when it blinked with a hand up, you know, I thought that meant that you had to already be across. So I was running across or whatever, and people were laughing at me because I didn't need to run across or whatever. Or how to put just from a hot dog. I didn't know how to work the levers because there's no such thing in Guatemala. So just stupid stuff that everyone always does here. I didn't know what that was. And even to this day, sometimes people talk about stuff and I just, you know, what, were you raised in a cave? No, not a cave exactly. Different country, but so.
Yeah. And I wonder about some of that stuff for our children too, because our oldest son is 6 years old. So he might remember some stuff from America before, you know, he moves to Scotland and everything. But especially like our 5-month-old, all he's ever going to know is life in Scotland. So I always wonder what it's going to be like if he comes back to the States for college. Like, what is that? What will that look like for him? Um, how do you feel that you growing up as a missionary kid helped to shape your life that you live right now?
Okay, so yeah, well, I have so many experiences, and I am bold and fearless and adventurous because I've had to be in a lot of different situations that would feel scary to most people. You know, like the sound of machine guns in the background was normal to me. You know, I mean, when a bullet came through our window, that was different, you know. And but my sister wasn't killed. She was about 4 feet away from where the bullet came in the window, so she could have been killed. But for some reason, I felt safe, except when the men would whistle. Um, Girls who are white, the men whistle at you, and if there's like a group of men and you're by yourself, that can feel unsafe. But I felt safe even with people with machine guns everywhere, not knowing if they were police or bad guys, you know, because it was all the same. And I don't know, I had a faith in God that was it was deep. It was you know, childlike faith is the best kind.
Yeah.
So I knew that God was in control of all things, and so I just wasn't afraid. Even when there was a bomb that went off at my other close friend that was threatened to leave. Well, a bomb went off at her house, and it was completely filled with holes, like a machine gun was used and everything, and it was like Swiss cheese. It looked like her. It was. But we got to go out to eat that night, and we didn't go out to eat, and so it felt special. And I don't know, it was weird as a kid. If you're rewarded for something, because they had blocked off our street because of the bomb, and so we had to go out to eat. So I don't know, I remember, yay, we get to go out to eat. As a kid, that's all I mean, you know, you don't know. And if your parents look normal, then you're fine, you know.
Yeah.
So just know, as parents, they look to you to see if everything's okay. And if your eyes are okay, then, you know, okay, oh, let's have chicken, you know. And my parents were I mean, my friends' parents and their family, they were gone already, so they were safe, you know. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't even imagine some of the stuff that you just mentioned going through. But I can see how that helped shape your faith for everything else that God had ready for you and waiting for you.
You know, another thing I want to mention though is my dad had a heart for the lost, and I do. I do a lot of sharing Christ with the lost now as part of my ministry, and praying for people and teaching them about Jesus in every way that I can, speaking, writing, all that kind of stuff. And I care about connecting people with the Lord. And that is something that was established when I was young. And so that legacy has gone on. It's so.
That's awesome. That's a huge deal too. So that's something that my husband and I both pray about, that our children will see that there's a reason why we're doing what we're doing, and it's not just only for missionaries, it's for everybody. And so even if God doesn't call them to be a missionary one day, that they can still have that heart for the lost, doing whatever it is that they do in the future. Okay, so I think we're pretty much out of time now. But I just wanted to say thank you again for doing this, and for talking with us and taking the time for the past week or so to pray over and think about the answers and everything. And I really just hope that all of the viewers had as good of a time getting to hear some of your stories and advice as I did. So thank you so much.
Thank you.